So I decided to say an interesting story, a Choshen Mishpat question, and I want to show you how each detail of the story literally changes the halacha. That's why Choshen Mishpat is a little bit complicated, and you have to know a lot sometimes. So you have to. Let me start the story. The story goes that a couple married, living and they bought a house, and they have it's called, I think, a picturesque window. You know, these windows that are very expensive windows and picturesque window. What happened was that the wife was not careful. I don't know exactly what she did. She didn't tell me the detail. It was really the Rabbi told me the story, but she broke the window, knowing that her husband has a terrible temper, and you don't call temper nowadays, has an anger management problem. So the kids so she decided quickly to say that her mother was over, and her mother by mistake, they broke it, and mother put out a check, she's going to have it fixed, replaced, and that's so far so good. Okay. She wants to know, she does the finances for her husband, and she's going to take money out of the account slowly and pay the mother-in-law. There's a guy, I broke it, I'm his wife. I broke it, and for the peace of my husband, knowing that he's Yiddish we call it zekoch, how nice in English.
A piece of herself.
Yeah, it means a piece of the shalom bayis. So what is the halacha? So we got to start from the scratch. What is the halacha when a wife breaks something? And what is all these halachas? How do you look at it? And you see how the story changes, as we go around. So let me start at the beginning. There's a Rishalma says that if a wife breaks something in the house, she's potter. Doesn't have to pay. Now, there's a machlokes why in what the Rishalma meant. So let me explain the pasuk in the Torah. There's a pasuk in the Torah. There's called Arbu Shamrim. It's called Arbu Shamrim. There's a Shem Bechinam. I watch something for free. A Shem Socher, and there's a Shoyel and a Socher. The machlokes which one that is. There's different types of Shamrim. The Torah says, if let's say I come to you and I say, "Can you lend me your car?" I need the car. I'm a Shoyel. And I say to you, when you're lending me the car, can you also help me load the car? Same time. Can you do me a favor? You're lending me the car, I'm by you, right there, help me load the car. And you're helping load the car. It's called Shoyel Babalov. You heard that expression? Balov Imoy, which the Torah says, normally a Shoyel is chayiv on everything. You know what that means? And I remember there was the earthquake, when was it, 96? Well, 94. There was the earthquake we had, and so there was a guy in my neighborhood borrowed someone's car to take his mother-in-law to the airport in the morning, and a brick from his thing just crashed through the window, and the insurance refused to pay. Insurance says that's GOD's thing. Insurance doesn't pay. It was what do you call this English car? Jaguar? Am I pronouncing it? Jaguar? Kids, it wasn't a cheap thing. And he came to me. I said, what should I tell you? You're a shoyel. You have to pay. What can I tell you? If lightning strikes it, you also have to pay. So if a brick fell off, it wasn't his house, it's making a difference whose house. So he was trying to prove to me that the brick wasn't for me. I don't care whose house. I tell him, lightning strikes the car. You have to. A shoyel is chayev be'anson. That means no matter what happens. But the Torah says, when I took the car from you and I came to you, can you lend me the car? And I say, let's fill up the car with, help me fill up the car. If I used you with the car, it's a gzeiris hakosiv, that a bull of imoy, I don't have to pay. Anything that happens, I don't have to pay. I don't have to pay not a shoyel, not a shoyel, even pshia. Some Rishonim learn even gross negligence I don't have to pay. Gross negligence. I don't want to go into that right now. That's not the right.
Anytime during the bargain.
Anytime. So I borrowed the car for a week, 30 days. In the beginning, you came and helped me load the car.
Did a double favor.
That was twice nice. And so now, the question is now, what is a wife and a husband? How do we look at a wife and a husband? So everyone agrees, the woman should not be insulted, but everyone agrees that a wife is meshubah to the husband. She's meshubah to work for him. So the Yishalma says, what happens if the husband borrows something from his wife? She could have her own nechse maluk. You know what nechse maluk is? She could have bought in a cow, a car. I remember when I was a newlywed, I had a friend whose wife had a brand new car. She bought she was doing very well as a girl. She had a car. That was her car. Why haven't the husband borrows a car from her? So why everyone agrees it's potter? Because she's working for him. She has to cook, she has to clean. So she's meshubet to him. So when I borrowed the car from my wife, let's say it's her car, and you coming and working with me, that's called bolov imoy. That means I took the car from you, and you're also working for me. Even if you're not working right now, most of the Shiurim hold, you don't have to mamish work right now, but since if I say I need a cup of coffee, you got to get me a cup of coffee, so it's bolov imoy. So then you're potter, whatever happened to the car. That I have to agree. The question comes up, how about the other way around? He's meshubet, but he's not meshubet to work. He's meshubet to feed her. He could be a very wealthy person, write out a check. He's not meshubet to work. So let's say right now, but even if he's not wealthy, you can't machloikas if you could make him work. It's a whole, remember we learned in Ebenezer, you could machloikas, you could beat him up to go to work. And let's say right now, but he could get, he's not meshubah to work. He's meshubah to get a mazonis. Someone wants to come give you a loan. So he's never obligated. You never could say, oh, you have to work for me. Because he could have always got someone, there are people always in society who always know how to get people to pay the debts. Every community has such people, you know what I mean? So whatever the situation, a husband is a mamish, even that is a machlokes. I explained he has to go to work. I mean, the Tosis holds, I'm going to just say, let me repeat this again. Tosis says, if a guy owes a person money, you cannot make him go to work.
Only thing you can.
And many Rishonim hold, even Mazonis also you cannot. Other Rishonim say, by ksuba, you can hit him to go to work. So that's not so simple, but that is only because he has to pay her for the mazonis, but he had someone else pay her for the mazonis, and you know what I mean? There's ways to... But a wife has to do the work for the husband. Unless she brings in, I think, 4 shivchas, the minimum of 4 shiksas she's got to make, she doesn't do anything, something like that. But the bottom line is, so now the Rishalma says, if a lady broke something at home, she's potter. So the Machoikas are Rishonim. Some of the Rishonim learn, Chazal made a tikkun. There's not going to be shalom bayis. Not because it's called bull of imoy, because the husband, again, she's working for the husband. The husband's not meshubah to her, so there's no ball of imoy that way. Remember, I explained ball of imoy. So she using now. Let's start from scratch. Let's make the simple case. She's washing dishes and she broke a dish. So it's very painful for a woman to hear that if, let's say, a wife, a lady, it was a housewife. Let's just make it simple. We'll get to the case where she works. She raises the children. She doesn't go to work. Everything in the house belongs to the husband. That's the halacha. Okay, that's the halacha. So Mamela, let's say she broke a dish. So the Rambam, I think it's the Rambam Shitta. The Rambam holds that minadin, she would have to pay. That's not going to be never shalom bayis. Every time she breaks something, you got to pay. It's not going to be.
How, from what will she pay?
Let's say she has money. She has nechsim alone.
No, but can he remove it from the funds that he would owe?
The Rambam learns Chazal made a tikkun. There's not going to be any shalom bayis that way.
But assuming, forget the ticket, before that, would he...
Yeah, the Kohen, if Chazal didn't make such a tikkun, not from her clothing, if she has nechsim alone. If she had money, nechsim alone.
If she doesn't have money,
He has to pay for the clothing.
He still is responsible.
Yeah, he's responsible to clothe her, to feed her, to medical insurance, and have a roof over her head. That's the husband's obligation. Even by accident. Mazik, everyone is made.
Very wise.
You don't have to, you know. They never. The art is showing them. The art is showing them. But her wife is not balav imoy. The other way around, the art is showing them say that even. But most of showing them hold you mazik. You don't say that. I don't want to go to that. It's a whole different sugya. So the Rambam holds.
She doesn't have the money. She owes him.
She owes him the money.
But what if she got the
She works the whole day, and then she owes the
the
money.
dish set a gift from her sister, for example? Her sister gave her the set of dishes, and it was broken.
Right. So I was going to explain that in a minute. In a minute, what he just said. So normally, if the husband bought the dishes, then it belongs to him. To her, you know, he works on. But you're asking, who's going to say, what happened to get for Chassan a gift? And it's her side of the family, usually the lady side of the family. They get together, the siblings, they buy china, and they buy, you know, v'chuli. So, such a case, then it is her nechsem alei. That there's nothing to talk about.
Her 50% that's
No, she got a gift. We accept that her family gave a gift.
It was given to
But she gave it to her. We accept in the Pesach and Ebenezer, if her family gave her a gift, we look at it as her nechsem alei. If Chas Hashem they get divorced, she takes all the present that her family gave her.
So her parents buy her house?
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get in a minute the house. Let's just focus first on Taltalim.
So not everything in the house belongs to the husband.
Right. Let's say they gave her the silverware, they gave her the dishes. Her family bought it for her. Then it's hers. It's called nechsem alei. And Chas Hashem there's a divorce. She takes it. You know, there's nothing to talk about.
When is the money you give your wife called staka or meiser, and when is it support? It's not covered under staka or meiser.
Meiser? How does Meiser get into the picture?
Any type of you can give your wife staka, you can give your shul staka, you can give anybody staka.
Wife is not tzedakah. Wife you have to support.
Depends what kind of husband you are. Certain husbands.
No. Let's start. I don't understand the question. A husband is mechuyev to feed his wife, dress her. You know, besides oina, it's just to make a roof over there, medical insurance. Now, what is it tzedakah? Then he has to pay his own money. There's no tzedakah about that.
Yeah, I'm saying, but above and beyond all, okay.
If she owes him a certain amount of money, would that money be removed from the ksuba?
Yes, if they get divorced, they'll be removed from the ksuba for sure. And she, let's say, she started working late in life, or she hit the jackpot, she would have to pay.
But we made a ticket that it's.
Chazal made a ticket, she potter. Chalal, it's washed. The Rambam learns, Pshat Neshama, it's going to be ridiculous.
What she does it on purpose? Our children about 22.
Whatever purpose, the Rabbi is showing him learn that you don't say Baal of Olav by Mazik. Your Mazik, Baal of Imoy says a shoyel. I'm not Baal of him. Like you said, she took the plate and, you're laughing. I had a neighbor. He was Jewish. She was a Japanese, and she, when she would get angry, she would throw plates, and he kicked her out of the house. And I remember, I have another Jewish neighbor. Begged him, don't take her back. Find a Jewish girl, But they had this crazy relationship. She would come back after a few weeks. But throwing a dish, everyone agrees it's a mazik. By mazik, we don't say these halachas. Take a dish. You're not washing the dishes. You're not right now. Not you. That's a whole. We're not going to this. That's a whole machna frayim. That's a whole arichas about that. So let's focus. So what answered his question. So if you bought the dishes, for her, then it's her nechsem alei. But let's say he went and bought, and she's not working. I want to give a case where she is not working. We'll get to later where she does work. She's a regular housewife. She does a job. She's not working, and he works. Then everything in the house belongs to him. That's where you have the Rambam learns. It's a tkuna. The Rabbi learns. It's called Baal of Imoy, because the Rabbi learns not so clear what he meant. Because since he's mechuyev to give him a zoynes, and sometimes he will have to go work. Not so clear what the Rabbi means, but the Rabbi learned that both ways it's Baal of Imoy. And the Choshen have a whole arichas to try to explain what the Rabbi held. And most poskim disagree with the Rabbi. There's other halachas, not here. So I don't say because the Rabbi understood since he might have to work, it's called Baal of Imoy. He has to be working, not might have to work. Okay, anyways, so this is a simple case. Now, another question is, let's say she broke something that she's not washing the dishes. You know, she was nothing to do. She was not working, and she broke something that's supposed to be decorative. Do we also say Balavi when she's a shomer? Is she called a shomer when she's home in the home? Many of the shomer holds she's a shomer. The wife is at home. She's taking care of the house. She's a shomer. That's part of being a wife. You be home. You're taking care of the household, and you're a shomer. So it doesn't have to be dishes that you're working with. Anything. Now, how about now? What? Well, again, it's bowl of imoy. So Chazal made, whatever you're going to say, Chazal made a tikkun. If the wife breaks it, she doesn't have to pay. So we'll see later, she doesn't have to pay. Can she later take money from the husband? So she doesn't have to pay. Here, now how about the window? She broke a window. It's very interesting. There is no din shomrim on karka. Well, that's why he said she doesn't own the house. She owns the house, changes the whole story. We paskin, there's no hilchah shomrim and karka. That means, if a guy's a house sitter, and my neighborhood had a guy who was able to sit in koilel, a young couple. He was paid so well for being a house sitter in a mansion in my neighborhood. He once told me he lives in that street, and I said, what? Yes. So first we thought in the koilel must be some wealthy person's son-in-law. And then one time, to me, something didn't stem. The way he dressed, and it didn't look like he's a son of a rich guy. And I finally asked him what he's doing. No, I'm a house sitter. Many people thought he was the son-in-law. So I imagine, I didn't, it's the first time I saw such a thing, gets paid a lot of money. They went away for 3 months in the summer. They hired a newlywed couple, paid him very well. Besides living in the house, paid him very well to be a house sitter. So let's say they were negligence, okay? Something was negligence. So Mamela, there's no din shomrin bekarka. There's no something happens as long as you were not mazik. The mazik. You don't say a shomer. So Mamela, such a case, the window broke. It's not only mazik. If she threw something at the window. Whatever, she was working in the house. I forget what the guy told me. She was working in the house, I think vacuum cleaning, and she slipped over I remember exactly. So pashtus, we would say, she doesn't have to pay. Even if it's the husband's house, she's a shomer, there's no shvira b'balam on karka, so she wouldn't have to pay. So then if she doesn't have to pay with susi, when she did the trick with her mother, she could collect the money with susi if she does not. But what happens, the house is in both names. The father-in-law buys a house, puts on both. I want to tell you something. If your father-in-law buys a house, it puts on both names. It belongs to both of you. And if the husband buys the house and puts on her name, it does belong to both of you. He gave her a gift. This comes up always in Din Torahs. Well, I bought the house. She was not working. She was a housewife, and I bought the house. And it's all my money, my hard-earned money. Yeah, but you put the house on her name. Who told you to put the house on her name? You put the house on her name. So you become, you gotta get a gift for her.
So legally, if her house is in the name? Legally, if her house is in the name? Just her name.
Just her name? Why did
not just her name.
both? It means he gave the house for a gift.
Her name is not on the house?
They didn't give it a gift. It's not hers. Then we get later if she paid for it. Let's just focus when she didn't pay for it. No, we'll get to it a little bit. Let's just focus. She's a housewife, and he bought a house. He put her name. He put her name. We explained this is called put her name. This a gift.
Do we look at the intention? You say a lot of times in our society, people put things in their wife's name for various tax or.
Yeah, we sure do good attention. We sure, but the house, most people put on. You ask it.
If you make your the house in your wife's name, if you're asking.
I'm saying if you put only on her, you're right. There will be a different story. But never do that if your marriage is not solid. But I just had someone who did it for his nephew, did a favor for his nephew. Boy, is he paying. Whoa. A rich man. So I said, why? I tell people never do this. Don't put in the house in someone else's name to do him a favor. Anyways, let me focus over here. So if he, let's just say he bought the house. He's a husband. Like nowadays, put both names. It's a gift to her. So when the window broke, you know what I mean? You can't say if she's willing to pay, it has to be half and half. You're shitfus. They're shitfus, you know what I mean? And we can say that, that's we get to it. I'll get to it. What makes it a shitfus when I want to first get to the one. Then shitfus. If the lady also works. You know what I mean? Let's say a lady, which nowadays lots of women work. I once explained there's a huge machlokes just in the Mishnah Melech. I think it's the Mishnah Melech and the Rivosh. What happens when women work? Which nowadays in society, many women earn a lot more than the husbands. Many don't. Many a little bit less. But there are lots of women, who really earn a lot more than the husbands. It's a fact. I've dealt with such situations. So when they buy a house, first of all, the household things, you can't say it belongs to him. She's a shomer. Yeah. The money comes, let me explain. So the machlokes of Mishnah Melech is, a lady never there's a din. It starts from scratch. The Gemara says the husband has to give her mezainis, feed her, clothe her, dwelling, medical, all these things. He has to do this for her because he supports her, so everything she does belongs to him. So if a lady works, all the money belongs to the husband. Why? Yeah, he's supporting her. So if she works, all the money goes to the husband. What happens if the wife earns a lot more than her stomach fills? Now, if she would tell him, my dear husband, you know what I mean? My dear husband, this is the rule of the game. She is, today, everything has to be so equal, you're rocking the boat. The boat gets rocked. That's what it is. So woman, even the times of Mishnah Melech, so no woman likes to say it. So it's clear if they would know the rights and would not be afraid, they would say it. They don't want to say it because, so it's a machlokes in the Mishnah Melech and the Rivosh. One shit, I remember which one says, she could have said it, all she doesn't say it's a vada, the money belongs to her. So mamela, because you use the money to support her money also. So you can't say that whatever in the house belongs to the husband, she put money into the thing too. So the dishes, let's say they bought dishes from the counter there. Mechatesa, it's his. It's just as much hers and hers. So then he does now. If you would have to pay, you would never have to pay the whole amount, anyways. So let's say by the window, okay. So the window breaks. They bought money from their house together. About it's bought shitvis. It's mamish shitvis. Because the reason they were able to buy a house was she was working. So now let's look at it. So she really al pi halacha, the woman breaks a window. Come out all situations. If she didn't do it in a mazik way, he says she was working at home and things happen, and things could happen, whatever it is, and the window broke. Really, she would not have to pay. Either als tekuna, even though there's no shaman in bekarka, and all these halachas. Now, so the mother-in-law put out a check to pay. So she didn't have to pay. So you wouldn't have to pay. So if she knows the finances and she could figure out how way to get back the money to him, she could do that.
Doesn't make so much sense.
What?
The money was given to him.
The money was given to her.
No, but
Yeah.
she gave it to him as a gift. She gave a gift. because
No,
she
the
gave it
mother-in-law
back.
didn't give it. They spoke about it. The mother-in-law was going to take responsibility. Didn't give a gift. She begged the mother.
To get the piece. To get the
Yeah,
cover.
say, do me a favor. Say that you were here and that you slipped. My husband is an angry guy. So the mother-in-law right away put out a check. The next day they came and fixed it. It wasn't a small amount of money. It was $2,500 or $3,000. No window. I didn't realize. Who's a builder? Is that true? That these expensive things is very expensive. These picturesque windows. You're not familiar. The stained glass.
Oh, stay here.
They're very expensive. He said to me, I think he said to me $3,000. I think he said to me. So she did it. To call it a wash. The mother wrote a check, and she said, "I'll pay your mom."
The husband's mother-in-law wrote a check.
Not the husband. The wife, the husband's mother-in-law, right? Said she took responsibility, which wasn't true. She gave her a check and they had it fixed. Now he doesn't own the finances. He will. The rabbi explained to him, he'll never know. So can she pay back? Then she doesn't. She would be potter. She only did it with his anger. You follow? You don't have?
Sure.
This could be like you have a manager working at your store, so to speak, working for you, and that person has the right to make an order from a vendor, sending more goods, and that's in a sense a debt. Can't you say it's a debt? That his shomeret took on a debt on the house on behalf household, and now the household has to pay back the debt?
Yeah, that's, he looks at it this way. That's also.
If I give you a gift, can I later on take the gift back?
I didn't give a gift. I didn't give a gift. The Elek Tchila, no. Elek Tchila spoke to make this. Unfortunately, that's how he is. The Shalom Bayis is not the he's an angry man.
Since she's not a it's a gift.
No. But he said, his mother-in-law says, "I'm gonna give you the $2,000, $3,000," and the mother says, "I want you to get it back to me somehow, some hook and crook." Look at Tchila said. So the reason she wrote out the check because she didn't want to, he's gonna be fuming. He's it's an angry man. So the mother-in-law says, "Here, I'm gonna say I did it, and here's the money, and you get back the money." So they didn't have a shala, but the Rav told me he thought it was you're not allowed to do. I says, "Why not?" The money, the $3,500 to fix the window. He took the money, fixed the window, had it done. They used the money for that. So now that money, she didn't have to do it.
If you're going to get very upset at someone when someone gives you a gift, but they're coming to give
No
you a
gift. There's not a gift. That's a ruse. I say in English, it's called a ruse. They say in English, it's like a ruse. There's no gift. This is like we kept him in the dark. He doesn't know. So she showed her mother, showed her husband, "Look, I got a check."
What was the rabbi shayla to you?
He held like the rabbi here held that. He gave a gift, and she's like, "Enough." He held this way.
I'm saying it's not honest. It's not, the whole thing is not honest.
Who's not honest?
Not the wife, not the mother, not the mother-in-law.
Why is no honest?
They're afraid, so don't live with the man who you're afraid to live with.
That's a separate. That's not the shalom.
Because
As a rabbi, I learned. I always tell this to people, and I teach a smicha program. I always tell them, I never answer only what you ask me. I don't want to open the can of worms, right? Like you just said, the story gets very complicated after a while. Unless I know there's an isser involved, isser heter, I try to find out what else got mixed up over there. But if it's like this is what you're asking me, not answering you shalom bayis. So the Getchila, when he got the money, the money was, I'm not giving you a loan, I'm not giving you a gift. I'm going to give you money and as a loan for the wife, so she could say that her mother broke and not her, and I want the wife to get me back the money. The mother says to the daughter, that's what it really is. We didn't speak it out, you don't have to speak it out. So now they could channel the money out. He doesn't know in the finances, and she could get him the money. The only problem that you have, the only problem, which is more complicated, which when he brought it out, what happens, how the window broke. Gotta start looking the chronim. If, let's say, let's say the window broke of her negligence. She was a mazik. So we say a baal of imoy is potter from pshia. Pshia means I left the door wide open and someone came and stole it. But what happens if I was mazik it? That's not called pshia, that's called a mazik. There's a big machlokes about that. I have to look. I remember this, but most poskim say don't say bull of imoy on a mazik, on a hezek. You know what I mean? He was not a shem, she was mazik. You know what I mean?
Also, even if she did it, how accidental was it?
Yeah, but accident is called a mazik. I was mazik with accident. You know what I mean? That's called a mazik. That's called, it's when I'm using your dishes and while I'm doing it, that's your shomer over here. There's no, over here, he has to know how it broke. Exactly how it broke. So, that's why Choshen Mishpat always gets so, it's never one localized question. You know what I mean? It's how do you look at it? Let's say if she would be working, she for surely could pay without asking him. It'd be a shayla not. That was the first question I asked the rabbi. Is she working? She happens to be not working. But if she's working, now it's an interesting thing. Because if she's working, the money's hers. She really could tell her husband.
What if she's working?
So I'm just saying, if she's working, and 1 second, and she's working, she's earning more than a stomach fill. Remember, it's not that she's just earning what her stomach fill. Let's say she's earning a lot more than it cost to cost. So then she could do whatever she wants. There's no question. The only question is she's just a housewife, happened to be. But let me just finish the story. He tells me, and when I asked him, started asking, he says she's really a trained lawyer. But he's doing so well in business. So, why should she work? You know what I mean? So I said, but the bottom line, she's not working. She's not working. Just because we don't say since she's a trained lawyer. So yeah, what do you say?
If you're making the same amount of money, and if you're making the same amount of money,
Yeah, but usually they bring the money together one thing. If they would have separate accounts, you would do, yes, you would be right. Here the money is one. So the question is, if she earns more money, then for sure she has control over the money to say what she wants. There's no question about that.
Do we have implied contracts? I mean, say today in society we view things differently, and therefore a woman has a
Hello? Yeah. Sie hat nicht gesagt, sie hat noch geriefen? Aber sie gehangen eigentlich einzige, wenn sicher geht, ja? Then it's okay. Then it's okay. Aber nicht da, like Tchilla, so man das begann nicht stehen, aber also... Yeah. Just apologize, this was from the mikvah.
So what's the problem that she's taking money from his account, paying back her mother-in-law? What's the issue? She's a Ghana or?
So the rabbi thought that if she's not working, the money was a gift, and maybe she has no right to take money out of the account and give. That's what the rabbi looked at it as the rabbi is saying. The mother-in-law gave a nice gift, so she gave a nice gift, so she has no right to take out the money from it.
Is it an intent of the giver or the intent of the receiver? The husband who received it, or he's getting paid.
So we look at it as a gift. They gave a gift, so you can't take money out. A wife has no right to just give money away. Small things she's allowed to. For a lady, if a woman does not work, it's very important. Your husband's not, Mishulach is not allowed to take money, only $1. Anymore.
Unless the husband agrees.
Unless the husband says to the wife, but the Mishulach doesn't know that. Unless the husband agrees that you could give your wife, you give the tzedakah, whatever you feel. I have wealthy people who are wives. The guy told me, I let my wife, I gave a budget, you should give tzedakah, she should feel good, that she also gives tzedakah, whatever. But a woman, he works, so she doesn't, she has no right. This is very important. I've said the story once over, twice this happened. One time, a guy came to me and he tells me like this, is her friend, her close friend, they grew up together, is making a wedding. And she's buying her a ticket to come to the wedding, and setting up an hotel, in Borough Park there's a hotel, something over there. And she tells her friend, do not tell my husband that I paid for it. She says, she called me up, I don't want to go, she's a Ganav. So she tells me that, she explained to me that her friend opened the store in Borough Park, and she's doing twice or three times the amount of income that her husband does. And her husband doesn't know, she runs a business on her own. I says, she has a right to do that. She has to pay for your ticket, pay for your hotel, and because why? For sure, but he didn't give her the right, and because a lady could say kimli. You know what kimli means? Remember, I explained, whenever there's a machlokes in dina mumanis, you could say kimli. I follow the opinion says, even though I didn't say to my husband, I'm keeping my money separate. We don't have to say she has a right to assume that.
So on that, do we have implied contract? So
only when it's a non-sahada.
My wife does not accept this perspective of my property not being hers, and I don't do anything to prevent that perspective from being changed. In that case,
what do you mean?
I mean, say I don't convey the aspect that this is my property and you only work with it. It's mine. Instead, everything is, most of us, I think, have our accounts together with the wife's name and the husband's name, and everything that we do is together, the bills. Therefore, we have an understanding socially.
But that's what the place can talk about. They also normal wanted to say that because it rocks the boat. And because they don't say that was a machlokes in Mishnah Mel. Why wouldn't a lady want to say that? Well, let's say our woman today will earn enormous amount of money. I was sitting with a couple, and she was earning $350,000 a year. It was, our women who are very geschickt, and and husband, scratches together $100,000, $120,000. So she doesn't. What is she going to tell him? My dear husband, this is mine. This is yours. Yeah, Shalom Bayis is not going to be the great. So, but the Poskim hold, the Mishnah Melech held, that since the only reason she doesn't say it, she doesn't want to rock the boat, even though he lives this way, it's all our money. Whenever there's a din Torah, they always saying to her, well, it's not true. You don't say implied.
But he's not a gamet if he uses that account.
No, he could say Kimli. Because you could say there's a machlekes apaskim, and he could say also Kimli.
Let's go back to his case. So here it's reversed. If the husband is earning the majority of the money, and he never told his wife, you should know that if he didn't tell you that it's all mine, he doesn't tell it to her. But they have a shared account. She can say Kimli, and since it's a joint account, since the understanding is that it's all communal assets, she can spend it as she wishes. Because Kimli, to her...
Why is there no halacha that way? There's no
halacha.
halacha. But you only could say that the woman, today your wife expects... One second. You're saying your wife expects that I could do whatever I want with the money.
No, but
Yes, not...
And we expect that as well.
Yes, if you expect that, right. But very often it's not so. I have seen husband be very annoyed. My wife gave tzedakah and...
That's people that doesn't know.
That's not the norm.
It's an exception.
The norm in our communities today.
If your wife gave $180 tzedakah, you ask her, dear wife, what is this $180? Well, she cried, and you'll be very annoyed, you say.
Certainly would be annoyed, but that doesn't change.
No, it does change it. No, that does change it.
Who said you would get annoyed?
I'm asking him.
The guy next to you is not agreeing with you.
No, but because the guy next to you, because if he would write $180, she would get upset with him.
No, but I'm saying it doesn't make it becomes hers just because he allows her to spend it. See, let me explain what you're saying. No. It doesn't become automatic. That means we look at it this way, and Halacha looks at it this way. It's all mine, but I trust you. I trust you. I trust you. You bought tchotchkes, you bought this. I trust you. Aledik. Not the pshat. Everything I earn, I gave it to you. If I write the house on your name and my name, the pshat, he gave it to her.
Both names. What's the difference?
No, but I'm saying you put but the money.
She legally
No,
is
but
in the bank account.
that doesn't because I trust her. You
Take it to
can,
the house.
do you know that one of the wealthy people, my community, listen carefully, his right hand man is used to be a koiling man. He has a right to spend money to a certain amount without asking him. He doesn't want to be bothered, but he gives money for the Mishalachim.
But the account is not in his name.
It isn't his name.
He has the right to sign.
Right.
That's different.
Well,
I'm saying the account is on the man.
that doesn't make a difference. Being in the name, it doesn't make a difference. That means it's his, and I trust my wife. She should run my business. That's it.
But I think that common actions.
That's the Goyish way of looking at it.
We're going through something. All our wives have our credit cards. All our wives have access to the bank account. All our wives buy.
But halacha still doesn't change
So
that.
we have a common practice.
But that means I trust her.
No, that's not the way the men think. I'm just telling you, the men here don't think this way.
They don't think anything. No. It's only alarm things. But they don't think. They don't sit down and figure out what is this. The halacha says it belongs to him, and the halacha says that I trust my wife. I trust you can.
There's a difference between being a signer on an account that you can give to somebody, and there's a difference between actually having the name, the social security number, the ownership of the account. The man gives ownership to the wife.
That's the way people think.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not.
They do think. People do think, and that's the understanding of people.
Because but I don't know if there was no kinyan either. It has to be a kinyan. There's no kinyan. How did it become
By
her?
the real estate, legally it's in their name.
The real estate is put on both names. That's legal. It's called the kinyan.
By the bank account she signed.
But it's not. If let's say he earned the money, so how did she become a kinyan that's hers? How?
It's in her chatzit.
It's not a can't.
What's she acquiring?
Yeah.
The money that's in the account.
No. You have to make a kinyan. There's no kinyan. Don't say that.
Why not? Why don't we say this?
How does it make it a kinyan? You have to make a kinyan.
The account is her property.
So if you make a partner in your company,
She's a partner. Yeah. Many husbands put the wife in a partner company, and that means
What
that
opinion did she make?
The signature.
Her signature is in the account.
No, the signature, she can take money out of the account.
No, the signature is that the owner, people don't think this way.
The
They
signature.
open an account because it's our finance.
But there's still no Kenyan. There is no Kenyan over there. There's no Kenyan. There's absolutely no Kenyan there. You have to make it, it's left. It has to be a
If
Kenyan.
signature works for the business, why doesn't it work for the account? She signed it.
Yeah, but it's,
If it's not for the business, it's not for the house.
let's say even cash. She would bring home cash. Your chotze cannot be koine for her neither. Chotze has to be, even the wife is Yuda Kyuda, you're not even koine. Even if you bring home the money cash, like good old days, a bag full of cash. There has to be some Kenyan to make her hers.
The woman has the ability to empty out the account legally. Does that give her the right that that's her account?
No, doesn't.
No?
I mean, the reason to do it legally,
She's a
but of course she's a thief.
I have a way out of this, Robin. Since anyway this wouldn't matter, because even if we say this to our wives, it's not going to change anything. So since we're Messiahish anyway, it doesn't matter. That's the way out.
But once you sit in the Torah, it's not so simple. You see the guy, I sat more than once in the Torah. The guy was screaming at his wife. I had a case where the husband told his wife, I don't want you to, he was giving for the mother-in-law money every month. Every month he would give his mother-in-law money. Sometimes you have, she got divorced and she's he calls her a parasite. She doesn't want to take a job, and then and he happens to be wealthy, and he's very annoyed. He's very annoyed. Told her, I don't want you to get money. And he, it's one of those cases where he's very, very successful and wasn't paying attention. Found out he was fuming. Yeah, he brought his wife to my office, and I really said to her, you're not allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it. Your husband doesn't want. He works hard. I mean, it's but you should also work hard, take care of the kids. What was her answer? I work so hard, take care of the children. Great, but you don't earn the money. He has a right to up Halacha. You don't say, what do you mean? Every time he puts money into the account, we're shitfist. I could do whatever I want. No, we don't say that.
If he would be spending money that she doesn't want, the way the people think is that's Balabatim, she cannot spend it.
No. In Halacha it wouldn't be that. In Halacha it wouldn't be that. There has to be some.
I think it comes down to how we view an implied contract in Halacha.
Right, we don't look, right, the way you're describing in secular world, the implied contract, you mean, because that's how we live that way. In Halacha doesn't work that way. We look at it, it belongs to you, and I trust my wife.
So to what extent could...
It's a bit better, you should know that. You don't, I'm sure you have a great shalom bayis, but let's say someone doesn't have a great shalom bayis. The reason he does it, because if you wouldn't trust her, there'll be no shalom bayis. See, it's today, it's not the case, I give you half my money. If a person would act, it's I earned the money. I have people want to get divorced. The lady once told me, I can't live this way. I just can't live this way. I don't work and I'm taking care of the children every day. He says, why did you spend this? I just can't live this way. So today, he only does it not because he wants to. He says, I won't be able to live peaceful with her. Imagine a lady with a husband looks down on her neck. What did you spend? Let's go through the whole thing. We won't be shalom bayis.
So do we believe in the concept of coercion? For example, that last case that you said, that the mother-in-law, the wife's giving the mother-in-law money. So the husband says, I don't want you to do this anymore. And so she can make his life bounce miserable too. And then he says, fine, you know what, give your mother money. He's not agreeing it, he just wants shalom bayis.
Well,
He doesn't want her to give it.
Api halacha, if you gave it because there was coercion, it's given. There's no such a thing. There's only been a goyim have such halacha. You could say tolerate the how do you say in English? Tolerate the uncomfortable feelings and the strife and whatever, and don't give it. You capitulated. He didn't hold a gun. Then he ever holds a gun, that's tli of a zoven. But just because she's a nudnik and she's a nudnik and a nudnik, and you gave in the.
But you can say the same logic. The only reason he's doing that.
The only what?
The only reason he's doing that is for shalom bayis. He really doesn't want to give this woman money. He has no interest in agreeing to that. He's only doing shalom bayis. It's the same.
So that is an interesting Shulchan Aruch. The Shulchan Aruch says that for a pialucha, the money belongs to him, but Yerushalayim should not take money where there's not 100% given. We spoke about it once, based on the Gemara B'Metzia. That means if someone giving you money, only they really don't want to give you the money, and the only reason they're giving the money because no choice. shouldn't take the money. A Yerushalayim should not take such money. Based on the Gemara B'Metzia, because he doesn't want to give it wholeheartedly. He doesn't want to. That's a separate issue. But Allah, it's his. You gave it. Doesn't make a difference. Wholeheartedly. Very often, Mishaluchim stand over your head, and or a child cries and he puts up a tantrum. Okay, or your wife puts up a tantrum. You know what I mean? Okay, let me tell you. Any other questions?
So what's the psik on stained glass?
So the story is she's allowed to do it. She's allowed to pay him back. She's allowed to pay him mother back. So I told the Rabbi, now I have a separate question. You should get him to go you should get him to go to help. That's a separate issue. You know, if a wife is afraid of her husband, that's terrible. That can be shalom. If she lives on fear, either way. If a husband is afraid of the wife is afraid of the husband, that's a terrible thing. Terrible, terrible thing. Okay, let me tell you another interesting story. Guy asked me, this happened last week. So a guy tells he doesn't have a computer, doesn't have an internet. So he asked the guy, do me a favor, I need tickets to get me to go to Chicago. No problem, but and he buys him both tickets by mistake. He gets the tickets and he looks at it, and the tickets is coming from Chicago to LA. Well, it happens, yeah. So now, guy wants to know, do I have to pay him? And he went, he was supposed to go to a bris, someone's bris there, and he missed it. He couldn't buy a ticket anymore. So even the ticket that he bought, if he would have bought a ticket now, he would have missed it. He told him, I want to chap a bris there, and I'm going there. So Bekitza, you understand what happened? So even the ticket, let's say Tim Tzlemi could have bought a ticket one way to Chicago himself, then that ticket would have been valid, but he couldn't buy. When he gave him the tickets, he couldn't even get a ticket anymore going to Chicago. He would have come to Chicago, the bris would have been over.
What's the happening? What's the question?
So the question is, he bought him 2 tickets. So the ticket that he bought, let's say he bought him a ticket today to go to Chicago. A mistake he made it coming to Chicago. I didn't make you shlich on that. Nothing to talk about that. Yeah, you messed up. That has nothing to do. But this other ticket was valid. It was one for today, one for tomorrow. Tomorrow I bought your ticket. You asked me, get me a ticket to go there. You come back.
Valid contingent on the first one.
So the bottom line is he did his shlichus. He did his shlichus. Now the only question is, ashkoyach, he did me a shlichus, but you messed up the beginning of the shlichus. So you messed up the beginning of the shlichus. I want to have from your ticket.
What's the rule? We say that shliach's not a shliach when he does the.
I could tell him so this is the question over here, right? So this is what I explained to the guy over here. This, you're right that the ticket coming from there is a good ticket, but I said this guy wanted to pay. He was from a guy. He wants to know if he has to pay him. So I said to him, but he did something we have no use, because the first ticket he messed up. So the first ticket messed up, you have nothing from the second ticket. Especially, probably he put in the first ticket first, was today, and the second ticket coming back. Whatever, I don't know how the mistake was done. So I made you a shliach, and your shliach got me no place. So on that ticket, for sure he doesn't have to pay. Understand? On the ticket. The second ticket he also doesn't have to pay, because I asked you to know, he feels terrible. I asked him to do a favor, now he... Yeah. Let me just remind another thing I wanted to say. See, I'm going to explain another interesting halacha. What is a principal in a school? He has the school's money. He's a shemechinam, a shemesocher. What happened? I'll tell you what happened.
He's if he's a shomer, he's getting paid.
He's getting paid, right? He's a shemesocher. But even if he'll be a shemechinam, tell you what happened. There's a guy who came to the mikveh. One of the manal from the school came to the mikveh. He had $3,000 cash on him. From the school. Hegdish money. And when he came out of the mikveh, it was gone. I mean, it always boggles my mind. Like, you come to the mikveh, and the guy wants to be from come to the mikveh, but Tauber shares biyodeh. I mean, it's one of those things that mind boggles me. But Al Kapanim, so the question is, he asked me that, do I have to pay the school or not? I said, this is not a Shem Sucha, the question I told him, it's gross negligence. You're pshia. It's not a Gnei Aveda. He thought he asked me, Hashem Chenam, even put Aveda. This is you don't bring cash into a mikveh. That's gross negligence. Carrying cash is so you have to pay him. So even if you hold it, it's not a Shem Sucha. You understand? You just call it a Shem Chenam. So a guy the truth is, a guy who collects money is a guy who does a dvar mitzvah. There's a machlokes in the Gemara. Right? See, a Shem Sucha is a big chiddush in the Torah. Shem Sucha is chayev gnei v'aved. You know what gnei v'aved means? Even if it was no negligence on his part, it broke in or it was lost. No, he's also chayev. You know how you become a Shem Sucha? The Gemara says, if I'm carrying a Veda, taking back an Veda, I found the object, I'm taking it, I become a Shem Sucha. Why do I become a Shem Sucha? Because if a poor person would come to me and ask me for a penny, I don't have to give him, because I'm Oisig b'mitzvah, so I earned a penny, so now I'm a Shem Sucha. You have to become a Shem Sucha. Amazing, Gemara?
It's like the Good Samaritan laws here, meaning say there's no point in doing a nice thing because it. I'm saying
a
that.
nice thing is such a big mitzvah because you pay a penalty.
Yeah, become a Shem Sucha. I mean, he has to be careful. Shem Sucha is chayav gnei v'aved. There is a tiny bit of negligence on his part. Let's face it, right? I mean, it's a mamish of a guy armed robber. He's spotted. If a guy came with a gun, armed, robbed him, and took away, then he's spotted. Follow? There has to be some part of so it's very interesting.
How would you title negligence? A principal in the school who has an employee who embezzles money from the account because the principal didn't really look at it.
He's chayv. If he didn't check the account, which normally a person that's part of a principal's job. That's not a job. He has a control or something. But I'd say this is the normal principal should figure what's going on. And he was lazy to check, then he's a
Or just overlooked it for a month and the money went out.
The overlooking is a pshia. It was a tiny pshia. Yeah. This is a good question what he's asking. Let me explain what he's asking. The money in the bank, this is the new cyber thieving going around. This happened, this happened, I'll tell you, it might just happen in this community. Choshen is, I'm in the house, I'm watching the table, the glass, the windows. This is in the bank, and I didn't check the account on the computer to see if someone outside, he skimmed the money off. You think he was sitting in the office, someone scammed the money, they could be sitting in Romania, right? Sitting in who knows where.
Would it matter?
Yeah, but why? That's the question. That is the question, because I'm not a shomer on that, l'choira. I'm not. What am I shomer over here?
You said before, is his job to look at the account?
That's it. Yeah, but that's it. It's his job. But there was no. He didn't. My job. That's the prince. My job. Let's say is to watch things in the house. I'm supposed to watch the jewelry. Supposed to watch the glass. Everything. That's my job. But it doesn't matter. Even though it's my job, Lemaisa. But there's a shmira. There's a chayfetz that I'm a shomer on. But you have an account money and someone skimming off the money. There's no, shmir over there.
The bank is a
The bank doesn't pay back the money. I don't know. The laws.
No, the bank doesn't know who's taking the money out.
Let's presume it's an employee in yeshiva. It was working in yeshiva and they take the money, but it's through the bank. Bank wouldn't pay that back.
The stepson, why would the bank? What about the stepson? The bank would, if you would report to the bank, you would get it money. Why? He didn't have authorization. No.
They wouldn't pay that.
Why?
It was probably because they missed it and they lost the amount of time.
Time lapse.
Depends how it's done.
I think if I remember well, he didn't want the son to. I think he didn't want to go to the bank because then he would. I think he told me he would have to apply a police report that he was stole
You
it.
definitely have to file.
Yeah, he didn't want to do that.
That's your own problem.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah.
He was asking him what the other.
So this is the question I have. Is there din shoymer on such a thing?
I
It's a lift. It's lift. You know what lift means? It's hot air. I'm shoymer on what? I'm shoymer to check the computer.
numbers, yeah.
Yeah, but if I get paid for that, maybe.
That's that, and
If
that's-
I hire someone to get paid for that, your job is to go check.
Not only also to look.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Did you have to put a basement for that, or no? Did the father-in-law, the stepfather have to put a basement?
Guy stole money from him. He did. When he confronted him, he admitted.
It was, write the police report, give me your $60,000.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't like he denied it because he got investigated and showed him exactly where he did it and which bank and how he did it. He did it. 17-year-old boys, you know, they know how to figure things out.
Oh, it was a
Special.
17-year-old?
Yeah, 17-year-old. What do you think he was? What do you think? Oh, 17-year-old boy. I always say the younger they are, the better they know how to do it. Quickly, what was I lost track.
So in order to be a shomer, you're saying that you actually have to have.
Pashtus,
physical
you have to
possession.
have a possession of. You know, this is like you're shomer on. I don't know exactly
So
what
if
it's.
you lost your debit card, if the principal has a credit card that belongs to the school, and he lost the credit card, is he a shomer on the credit card, which is access to the money?
So that is a big machlokes in the Ktsas and the Nesivos, where indirect loss. Let's say you do something, your job is something, and indirectly, something happened. You lost the credit card, and you're supposed to be a shomer on it. Indirectly, someone in the school found it, and he stole. I have a grumma. That's a big machlokes. A big machlokes in the Achronim about that.
What if you're an employee and let's say your job is to audit bank accounts and someone commits fraud and you just were lazy?
Just
You were lazy. And someone
yeah,
committed
that
fraud
for
and-
pashtus, if you paid for that, guy paid you,
If you're
then
the accountant.
You're the accountant at a company, let's say a company, and then your job is to check the bank account every day. And someone commits fraud against the bank and you didn't watch it every day, you were.
I for sure he has to give back the money, but he didn't do his job. So but I paid him and didn't do. The question, does he have to now? That's the question that he's asking.
Yeah.
I mean, he has to pay back the money that he didn't work, didn't do his job. I paid you for that, didn't pay you. But the question is, let's see, usually that's not the amount. He lost a lot more money. And this is something. Okay. Yes, sir.